Joining me now, Peter Schweizer, president of the Government Accountability Institute and host of the Drill Down podcast. All right, Peter, so what would you say were the highlights of what we learned from Devon Archer yesterday?
Well, I think we learned a couple of things, Megyn. First of all, we learned from the business partner that Hunter Biden would call his father, the sitting vice president, with his business partners. And it was a way to kind of show off the brand. What is the brand? Is his father the head of some tech company with business acumen? No. His father's the vice president of the United States, and the brand is access. The Democrats, I think, are being a little disingenuous when they say they didn't discuss business. What's the big deal? Look at how campaign fundraising is done in Washington, Megyn. Somebody comes in, they express concern about the bill. President or an office holder talks about it. The fundraisers contact them later to discuss a donation. That's probably the same way that it happened here. So that, I think, is an important development because it shows the lie that Joe Biden has said consistently, that he never met with, never discussed, never had any conversations with any of his business partners. The second thing from this testimony that's important, Megyn, is that Devon Archer said very clearly, and remember, Devon Archer served on the board of Burisma, this Ukrainian energy company, with Hunter Biden. He said that Burisma executives were pressing Hunter Biden to get the prosecutor fired, the prosecutor that was looking into the CEO of Burisma, issues related to taxes, financial irregularities, etc. So that's confirmation that Burisma wanted him fired. You add to that evidence that Joe Biden bragging on video that he was the one that got the prosecutor fired by withholding U.S. aid. That, I think, is also an enormous development.
So you have Devon Archer saying he knows firsthand that Burisma was speaking to Hunter about trying to get this prosecutor in Ukraine fired. They wanted this anti-corruption prosecutor, allegedly, off of their back. And we know from the laptop and other testimonials that one of the conversations that Joe Biden had was with Burisma, the executives, Hunter Biden, shortly before he fired that prosecutor. Now, years later, Joe Biden would tell us all that he had that prosecutor fired. He fired him back in 2015 when he was the vice president. He didn't speak to the Council on Foreign Relations about it until 2018, which is when this soundbite is from, the first half of this soundbite. But James Comer was on Hannity last night, and here's a bit of Joe Biden in 2018, and then Comer commenting on what he believes happened right after it. Watch this.
Had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. Said, "No," I said, "I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion." They said, "You have no authority. You're not the president." The president said, I said, "Call him." I said, "I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion." I said, "You're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here." And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, "I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money." Well, son of a got fired.
That's a quid pro quo, Sean. That's very illegal. We have evidence in this sworn testimony that from a fellow Burisma board member that they were pressuring Hunter to immediately get on the phone with his father and get this stopped.
Because we do know that Archer reportedly yesterday testified that on December 9th, 2015, Joe Biden traveled to Ukraine to make this speech about corruption and so on. And then shortly thereafter, he made sure that they fired Shokin. And that was right after he and Hunter met with the Ukrainian business officials.
Yeah, that's right, Megyn. This is an enormously important development, I think, what Devon Archer said, because it shows the motivation of Burisma to get this prosecutor fired. Remember, the consistent line from Team Biden and a lot of the fact checkers, so-called fact checkers out there, went along with it to say that, no, the investigation was dormant. The investigation was really no longer existent. This is clear evidence that Burisma certainly didn't see it that way. And in fact, it wasn't until later that Burisma announced that they were no longer under legal jeopardy. So when this first came out, when that video was first released and people were talking about the quid pro quo, I was kind of skeptical. But this new piece from Devon Archer, I think, conclusively shows that there's a connection between the two. Hunter Biden was not hired by Burisma because he had background in energy or Ukrainian policy or regulatory affairs. He was hired because of who his father was. He basically acknowledged that in a 2019 ABC News interview. And lo and behold, who's the one that later brags about firing the prosecutor that Hunter's employer wants fired? His father, the vice president of the United States. I don't think it gets too much, I don't think it gets more damning than that. And I think we have to really think about the legal standards here, Megyn. You're the attorney in this conversation. I'm not. But if the standard is we have to show a video of Joe Biden talking to his son, saying, I will get this done, that's a ridiculous legal standard. I think the evidence is clear cut. It's a quid pro quo, and Hunter Biden was paid in part to have his father take official actions on his behalf, and that includes getting this prosecutor fired.
That's the only thing that makes any sense. That's the only thing that makes any sense. Neither Devon Archer nor Hunter had any expertise in oil, gas, energy whatsoever. They got placed in that Burisma board when Joe Biden was the sitting vice president. Then they have a meeting at which Hunter makes clear that he has daily access to his father, the sitting vice president, and they get 83 grand a month from this company. And then lo and behold, what happens? But Joe Biden fires the prosecutor in Ukraine, or makes sure that they fire this prosecutor in Ukraine, looking into Burisma. What else makes sense? And what Hunter Biden seems to be saying, what Joe Biden seems to be saying, went on a podcast yesterday and talked about how he talks to his kids and his grandkids every day. He's been laying that foundation. Why would he, I call my mom all the time, but I don't call her in the middle of my show. I don't call her in the middle of my business negotiations with Sirius XM. I don't call mom. No, that would be inappropriate. Yeah. There's only one reason he would be calling him in the middle of a business meeting, and that's to show the door's open. I do have access.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, Megyn. I mean, look, they're trying to paint it as they talk to each other every day because it's so important for them to bond and connect. You don't bond and connect when you're sitting with four guys over drinks at a bar at the Four Seasons. That's not how you bond and connect. The other thing here is Joe Biden's responsibility. I mean, they play up the fact that, Hunter had lost his brother and they're worried about substance abuse. It'd be very easy for Joe Biden, the first time that Hunter Biden did this, called him with his business partners, be very easy for Joe Biden to say, look, son, call me at any time. Call me at 3 a.m. I'd love to hear from you, but do not call me when your business partners are present. That apparently never happened because this has been Joe Biden's mode of operation. Let's remember, before Hunter Biden started this so-called international financial business, he was a lobbyist and he was lobbying his father on behalf of entities in Delaware. So they're very well versed on how to do this in a manner that's not obvious, but is still very effective for the clients, in this case, foreign clients like Burisma.
Do you guys remember when I had RFK Jr. on my show and he discussed his presidential campaign and his book, The Real Anthony Fauci? I remember. And I got to say, a lot of the things RFK is trying to expose are downright frightening. I'm not saying he's right on this or wrong on that, but what I am saying is you should be aware of this and what RFK Jr. has written about, what he's been alleging. And now you can do it very easily. You can watch the movie adaptation of his book for free. That's right. The folks over at Revealed Films have turned the Real Anthony Fauci book into a movie. See Fauci's questionable behavior, to put it mildly, and motives during the AIDS crisis for yourself. Learn as they dive into his $2 billion plus Department of Defense funding and the damages related to his collaboration with Bill Gates. And don't forget how he shunned all sorts of inexpensive solutions to COVID. This guy now being threatened with criminal charges by Rand Paul. Go watch the movie and make up your own mind for yourself. For a limited time only, watch this movie for free at therealanthonyfaucimovie.com. 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 Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.